everyone. I'm Mary Fain Brandt, the host of this show, Bite-Sized Tips for Busy Entrepreneurs. What's up, everyone? Hi, Amy. Hi, Peter. Thanks for joining us. I don't know about you guys, but do you love that new intro? It totally gets me going. I'm over here chair dancing. I'm like, I think I need to play it every morning. Hey, I'm Mary Fain Brandt. I'm the host of this show, Bite-Sized Tips for Busy Entrepreneurs. Thanks for joining us today. I have a question for you. Do you dream about becoming an author, about having a live book launch, about becoming a bestseller on Amazon? Me too. That's why I've invited my friend and colleague, Kate Allison. Kate is a book writing coach and editor, and she specializes in helping women, coaches, entrepreneurs, and professionals like you write influential books so they can have the impact they desire. She does this with her signature book writing process that shows you how to get your book out of your head and onto paper. Ooh, I need her help for sure. So you guys, this is Bite-Sized Tips for Busy Entrepreneurs. We go live twice a month where I interview industry experts so that they can help you grow and scale your business with ease. Sounds good, right? You guys know how the show goes, right? 30 minutes, 3 tips. So here is today's tips that we're going to be talking about. Brainstorm your book ideas and topics. How to do a free write. I think that's like a mind dump to make the writing process easier. Kate's going to explain that process to us. And then finally, how to use the content that you're writing for your book for your social media and brand content. And I have a question for Kate. I have a lot of content out there already on social media. Maybe I can take that and create my book. What do you think, you guys? We want this to be interactive. So please drop your questions in the comments. Just type Q so I can find those easier. So Q and then what your question is. And there are no wrong questions. We're all here to learn and grow. So drop them in. Now, before we get started, we've got to give a big shout out to StreamYard, the official sponsor of Bite-Sized Tips for Busy Entrepreneurs. StreamYard is the official premier platform for going live. It's so easy, you guys. You just hit the go live button. That's it. You can have up to 10 people in the green room and on stage or on screen. We like to say it on stage as live remote producers. I'm going to share my link in the comments in a moment. So if you're interested in checking it out, they even have a free version. So if you're thinking about streaming, go ahead, sign up for StreamYard, check it out, and I can help you create your show. Or my girl, Amy, who's watching, I know she has a course if you want to get started with your live show. So plug for Amy as well. And if you're catching the replay, you guys, just type in #replay because Kate and I promise to go back and engage with you and answer any questions that you might have. So let's welcome Kate to the show. Let's get her on. Hello.
Hello, I'm excited to be here. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
It's still coffee time for me. What time is it where you're at?
It's about noon, so it's lunchtime, but I have my glass of water here, so I stay hydrated.
Yeah. I've got the tumbler of coffee and the tumbler of water. I don't know about you, but I'm digging my new intro. I was totally dancing and it was so much fun. So Amy and Peter have joined us. Amy said, hi, ladies. Hi, friends. Peter said, hello, Miss Brandt. Peter, where are you watching from? Amy, I know you're in San Diego. Go ahead and type that in the comments because I love to see where people are watching from. And I want you guys to connect with each other. So Amy, Peter, go jump over to LinkedIn, my favorite platform, and get connected. So Kate, we know that you're a book coach and editor. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're a bookworm. You probably love books.
I do. Yes. I have always loved to read. I'm one of those people who everywhere I go, I take a book with me because, that way if I'm stuck somewhere and I don't have anything to do, I have something to read. And, and I've been like that since I was a kid. So. And
that's actually a really good thing to do. So always take a book with you, whether it's on your Kindle or iPad or a physical book, because then you won't get mad when you're reading for someone.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I took a book yesterday, Overcoming Under-Earning. It's an amazing book. I took it. I went to get my hair done. And so I took the book. So while I was sitting there, I would, I could do something productive. So I'm all about taking a book when you're traveling, when you're going to appointments or whenever, just have one with you. So yeah. Peter is down in La Mesa. What's up, Peter? Love La Mesa. See, Amy, he's in San Diego. I think you guys should connect over on LinkedIn, see if there's any synergy there. So Kate, tell us a little bit about your journey of how did you become this book coach? I mean, what, you finished high school, college, and you were like, I'm a book coach? Is that how it worked? Because that's how
it was not that straight of a path.
Okay, tell us what your path was.
So my background is actually in education. So I started out I got my bachelor's degree in music education, worked as an elementary school music teacher, and I really loved working with the kids, but I found that dealing with the administrative issues and the political issues was a little bit too much for me. So I was looking for, what are some alternatives that I can do? And I started thinking about, if I could do anything, what would I do? And I thought, well, I'd want to read books all day. And so then I thought, okay, how can I do that? And so then I saw that there were people doing these online businesses. And so I actually started out my online business as an online course creator, because with my background in education, I thought that made sense. But then when I thought about what I really wanted to do, I realized that I wanted to do more with books. And that was around the time that I met my boyfriend, who was writing a book at the time. So I started helping him with his book. And he said, you're really good at this. And so that gave me the courage to say, you know what, I am good at this. I've been a bookworm my whole life. I know how to help people write books. I know I have an instinctive understanding for what it is that really makes a book stand out. And I can help people bring that out in their writing. So that's how I got started as a book coach, is I just decided, okay, I'm just going to do it. And so I did. I got my first client within a week, and that was an amazing experience. She was so
in a
motivated.
Week? That is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and she was so motivated that she wrote and published her book in 3 months, which was amazing.
Yeah. That is amazing. So my head is just thinking about that because, like actually on my 2021 goal list, because I always make this huge list for the year and then try to break it down, is to write a book. So I'm really excited to have you here, not just selfishly for myself, but I know there are a lot of people in my community that are talking about writing a book. Some people have written a book. So you guys, if you have written a book, can you drop the link in to the book that you've written? And if you want to write the book, let me see if I can find this. Hold on one second. I made a banner just for today. What would you write a book? What would you write a book about? So I'd love to know that. So I have another colleague, Jocelyn, who I love, but she helps people write novels. So I want to be clear that you are a business, like you help people write these business books, not like your novel or, the fiction, right? Or
that's correct. I really do love helping people write business books. Now, when I did get started, I mentioned, helping my boyfriend with his book. That was a novel, but, a lot of the same writing tips apply, but I do focus primarily on helping people write nonfiction. So that can include business books, it can include memoirs, but typically not novels, not that type of thing.
Okay, great. Just wanted to clear that right from the beginning. So we're going to cover 3 tips today. Tip number 1 is brainstorm your book ideas and topics. So if you were working with an entrepreneur who has maybe an online business, or they're a speaker or a coach, how do you go about telling them, like, okay, let's just brainstorm your book ideas and topics? Like, what does that look like?
So the very first thing that I have my clients do is just get out a pencil and a piece of paper. And it's really important to do this with pen and paper and not on the computer. I'm a nerd, and the way your brain works, it works differently when you're actually physically writing something down versus when you're typing something. So for this process, I really like to use pen and paper. And what I do is I have them write down every single thing that they could possibly write about. And this includes, the overarching themes, so for example, you could write a book about how to use LinkedIn. That would be your overarching theme. Yeah. And then you look at, okay, so what are all of the bits and pieces of that? Well, how to maximize your profile, how often should you post? Who should you be connecting with? What do you?
Oh my God, I'm just loving this. So I don't have to charge you, or you're not going to charge me for the session, right?
No.
So you take so for business, because I don't want it to be all about me, although that's great. So, Amy is a video coach. So whatever your specialty is, that's like your umbrella. And then you kind of have this, or the bike, I like spokes or something, the spokes of what are the areas that someone needs to know.
Exactly. And so, so you just literally, it's just a brain dump. You get everything out on paper. And the idea here is that you don't edit yourself at all yet. You don't think, oh my God, that's a stupid idea, because right now you really just want to get everything out on paper. You don't have to write about every single thing that you write down. It's just a way to kind of get your thoughts out of your head, because what I find happens is people start thinking about writing a book and they keep their book ideas up here, and it's really hard to organize your ideas when they're just in your head. So getting them out onto paper then can help you organize everything and figure out what does need to be included, what doesn't need to be included, and what the next steps are once you get that brainstorm done.
I love it. Yeah. So it's kind of doing a mind dump or a brain dump, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Just throw it all down. It's, this is ironic because when I work with clients on their LinkedIn profile, that about you section scares the bejeebies out of them. And that's why they hire me. Yeah. They don't know what to write. What do I add? What do I not? Sometimes they want to write a novel, right? And so what I've learned that works best is like, hey, here's the areas that I think we're going to need, your skill set, a little story, what's your call to action. But then I'm always like, just write it all down. It can be messy. I'm not looking for perfection. I just want it out of their head so I can see what is in their head and what they think they need to convey to the world. So it's kind of the same concept. Just get it out, folks. Okay, so do a mind dump. the next tip that we're going to go over is how to do a free write. Is that the same thing? How to do a free write to make?
That's a little bit different. So the mind up is you're getting all of your ideas, all of your potential topics out of your head and onto paper. The free write is where you're actually going to take one of those topics. And here it doesn't really matter what you start with. Again, this can get some people, this can stop some people because they say, well, I don't have it organized yet. You don't need to worry about that right away. The idea here is to get into the practice of writing. So you pick one of your topics and you set a timer for 5, 7, 10 minutes, however long you want, but I wouldn't recommend going more than 10 at the beginning. And you just start writing everything you can think of about that topic. And the point here is that you want to keep writing, number one. You're not editing anything that you're saying, and whatever comes to your mind, you're writing it down. So the idea here is simply to get into the practice of writing without editing, without stopping yourself and saying, oh my God, that sounds stupid, I have to delete it. Because what happens is sometimes we stare at this blank page and then, we'll write a paragraph and then we think, oh, that's awful. And then we delete it. Then we try to write it again and we delete it. And an hour later, you're still looking at a blank page. So this helps to avoid that because you're simply going to write and literally write whatever comes to your head. So you might be writing about a topic and maybe the timer hasn't gone off yet and you're like, well, I can't think of anything to say. Then you literally write down, I can't think of anything to say until something else comes, because more will come.
And I can totally do that. So I do that when I'm starting emails. I just start writing and they're a friggin' mess. There's typos, the words are, so this seems very doable for someone who's thinking like, I want to write a book, but I've heard it takes forever. I'm not a great writer. So I have that mind block. An English professor in college told me I didn't write very scholarly, right? So I write, So talk about like having a writing block, because I write from my heart. But when I write from my heart, I connect with my audience.
Scholarly writing is boring. I tell my people, you do not want to write a textbook because nobody wants to read a textbook, and you want people to read your book.
Right. So I always say, like, when I'm coaching people on LinkedIn, same thing, write from your heart. When you write we'll clean it up and we'll make sure there's SEO, make sure the right words are in there, but write from your heart because you want to be more relatable. So I kind of feel like this free write thing, that is a great exercise. And I have a colleague who's writing a book. She's written her book and maybe she's starting on the second book or something. And she wants to do writing sessions with me. Like, we're going to work for an hour, like on a certain day of a week. So I'm like, oh, I can write a topic. I can do that. I like it. That is like the best tip I think I've heard.
Yeah, that is actually another really great tip is, if you're having trouble motivating yourself, find someone else who's writing a book and just set aside an hour to work with them, where you're literally like on Zoom, but you're muting your microphones and you're just writing during that time. That can be really helpful. There's a bonus tip.
I love it. So tip number 3, and I'm going to flip this on you, I think. Your tip number 3 you wanted to talk about, it said, use the content that you're writing for your book, for your social media, and brand content. So if you're not online, like if you're not present, you don't have an online presence, you don't have a lot of content published, you're saying, hey, now you're going to write a book, and guess what? You're going to have content, which is amazing and probably can even help people who have content. You're going to discover more content.
Right.
So I want you to talk about that, but I want to flip it on you. Someone like me who publishes, I don't know how much I publish, 3-4 times a week, right? I have bite-sized tip Tuesday, right? Every Tuesday we drop a LinkedIn tip or an app tip or a program or business development. And then for my show, we bring out pro tips. That's for the guests though. But for the LinkedIn stuff, I think we're at tip number 187.
Wow. Yeah.
So okay. Yeah.
Yes,
so tell me.
I'm going to go with that. So there are 2 ways that you can approach this. And number 1 is the first one that I said, where you write your book and then you use what you're writing for your book as your social media content. And that is really good for someone who doesn't have a lot of content, who maybe is just getting started to have an online presence. That's a really good way to do it. Now, for someone like you or like Amy, who I know is watching, you can take the content that you already have. You mentioned that you have 187 tips. You have a book written.
I know. That's what someone
You don't need to make it harder.
I'm overthinking it.
Harder on yourself.
I know. I'm overthinking it because I've had a few people like, so when are you writing your book? I'm like, what do you mean? Like Stephanie Liu, if you're watching. So Mare, when you write your book? I'm like, what book? She's like, that book that's in your head that you've already put out in content.
Yeah. And that is another thing that I help people with is looking through your content and seeing, okay, how can we turn this into a book?
I like that. So if you're watching and you haven't thought about writing a book, but you have a heavy online presence and a lot of content out there, guess what? This girl, oops, I always do it backwards. This girl right here can look through your content and help you come up with your book. That is an amazing tip.
Yes.
I love that.
And when you start doing that, you'll find that this can also be helpful for someone who has difficulty, like trying to figure out, well, what content should I be focusing on? This can help you really focus your content because you know exactly what it is that you want your audience to get. This can also work really well if you have an online course. It's really easy to turn an online course into a book and vice versa. So those two things also go together really well.
Course creators, you've got a book. You just didn't know that you already have your book done. We just got to get it into book form. If you're a content creator and you've been publishing content like me, you already have a book, and Kate can help you say like, yes, this is here. You've got this book on XYZ that you post about every week, or I see 3 themes maybe that you could break down into chapters or something like that. I'm not the book coach here. So a couple questions that we have is how long does it normally take to write a book is one question. And I know that's a huge question.
Yes.
Got an answer for us?
I will really say that it depends on the book that you're writing. It depends on where you're coming in from it. So someone like Mary, who, you already have a lot of content, honestly, writing your book is not going to take very long. It's the editing and the publishing that's going to take up most of your time. If you're starting from scratch and you don't have a lot, then, it really depends on how much time you can devote to your book. There are people who will set aside a weekend to do nothing else but write and then write their book. So you can write a book in a weekend. There are other people who that doesn't work for them. And so then you set aside, maybe an hour a day, or even if you set aside 15 minutes, 3 times a week, you can make progress on your book. But the amount of time that it takes to write is going to vary depending on how much time you can dedicate to it, as well as how fast you write, which as you write, you might find at first you're like, oh my gosh, this is so slow and painstaking. But as you get used to writing, you'll find that it starts to happen a lot faster.
It's like creating a new habit.
Exactly.
It gets easier. Like going to the gym is hard at first, and then you're excited to do it. Okay. Yeah. And a habit takes 90 days to create. So you guys give yourself 90 days if you want to write a book.
Yeah.
I love all this. So the other question that we got asked was, do I self-publish? Like I'm a solopreneur, so I'm working with you. I've written this book. Now what?
So the really big advantage to self-publishing is speed. You can self-publish a book. Like I mentioned, I had a client who wrote and published her book in 3 months. If you go for a traditional publisher, you're going to spend probably a year finding an agent. Then you're going to spend another year or 2 finding a publisher. Then it can take the publisher 5 years to actually publish your book. So you could have your book written and it might not be out for another 5-7 years. Whereas if you self-publish, you can get it out today. Well,
okay, great. So for the business owner, right? So I'm on a lot of summits and they always ask me, do you have a book you want to promote? I'm always like, not yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know that it's a great tool to use as like an opt-in. Sometimes you can give a free chapter, right?
Yeah.
So if we have content, we have a book, we just need to lay it out. We should self-publish. What is that? So what cost-wise, like when you're self-publishing, like, can you give us a range? Like someone's like, okay, I want to write a book, but I've got to build that into my budget of everything that it's going to cost. What does someone need to think? And just a range, because I know everything's a little differently, but we've got the time. Now, how about the money?
So the range can really vary anywhere from 5,000 to 30,000 and up, depending on what you're looking for. And so all of the different pieces that you need, you're going to want to have a really good book editor, because they're going to be the one who is going to take what you have, your raw writing, and really polish it so that it shines, so that your message comes through clearly. So that's going to be one expense. You're going to want to have a professional cover designer, a professional formatter, to make sure that your book looks really good. Because I can tell you, if I see a book and I see that the cover isn't designed well, then I'm going to guess that they probably didn't spend much on an editor either, and I'm not going to want to read the book.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's also marketing, which that can be, again, that you can do it all yourself, which takes up a lot of time. You can hire someone to help you market your book, which obviously, that costs money, but that can be really good, especially if you really want to get that Amazon #1 bestseller. I strongly recommend hiring someone to help you with the marketing.
Okay. Yeah. These are all great tips. It sounds like it's not as hard as we think it is. No, we could actually do this. And I'm just saying, like, if I have a huge masterclass series coming up in August, so it's a week long, and that's my focus right now. Mm-hmm. But after that, I think my focus is going to be to start getting this book ready, so that I can meet my 2021 goal and get my book published by the end of the year, since I already have the content. Mm-hmm. And I already have a brand design person, my graphics person, my designer, like, she already knows the brand and everything. So Mary Rose, I know you're in the U.S. Virgin Islands, but let's just put that on Q4 that you're going to need to design a book cover. Amy Iram, when are you going to finish your book, sweetie? I'm calling her out. Then, I have another question. I have been asked, and I have not said yes yet. Mm-hmm. And I want to, but I haven't, because people are writing collaboration books, right? Like, they're getting stories from 10 women and creating a book. And I can see the value in that, but they're charging to be in this book, but I have no idea how much it costs to put a book together. So what are your thoughts about being a collaborator? Like, if you can't write your own book, maybe you don't have a whole book, but you want to be a published author for that credibility factor. How do you feel about having a chapter in someone's book?
I think that can be a really good way for someone who doesn't want to write a full book to get started. It can also be a way to really, the other thing about that is those collaborators, they do tend to promote their books very heavily, and they do tend to, they want you to become a #1 bestseller. So they're going to really work on that marketing, and there's going to be some promotion expected on your end too. And that's part of why it does well, because there are so many people contributing, so many people marketing, that it really does help. So it can be helpful. I would recommend, if you're looking at doing that, before you pay anybody any money, look at the previous books that they've put out and make sure that it's in line with what you want to do.
Yeah, you don't want to just give your money to someone and then no book come.
Right. Or even worse, a bad book comes out, one that isn't edited, that doesn't look good. You don't want to be a part of that.
So Rachel, thanks for joining us. How are you doing today? Rachel has a question. She said, "Hi ladies, how do we find an editor, a formatter, a marketer?" This is very new to me, but I've always had a few ideas for writing books. So Rachel, what's the topic of your book? I'd love to know that, if you want to drop that in the comments. And then Kate, I'll let you take it away. Editors, formatters, marketers.
Yes.
Where do we?
So there are a couple different tacks you can take here. There are places that help authors who are self-publishing do everything all in one. So you can hire one company, and they'll help you with editing, the formatting, the marketing, etc. So if you're looking for something easy, that can be a really good way to go. Otherwise, a really good way to find an editor is to ask your friends who have written books, well, who edited your book? Especially if you really like the way that their book reads. That's a really good way to get a really good reference for someone who you can trust, because there are a lot of book editors out there, and a lot of them are really good. There are some who are not so good. I also recommend, before you hire an editor, have them do a sample edit of your first. Most of them will do like your first 1,000 words or so as a free, so that you can get a sense of their style. And that way you can see, okay, is this in line with what I want from my book?
I love that. So I had in college, in my master's program, we write our theses, and you have to have it edited, right? They suggest because it's a huge project. So I hired this guy because someone recommended him and I'm like on deadline. It was the worst experience ever. Like, he did a crappy job. He didn't show up. He was late. And, here I have my theses, for my capstone project, for my master's.
Which is important. Yeah.
Which is important. And it has to be professionally edited. And I was like devastated. So, I love that you said most editors will give you a sample editing. So that's a pro tip, you guys. Don't just go hire someone, have them do a sample.
Yeah.
So Rachel wants to write. One is a cookbook. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and read that for you, Rachel. Like if you want to send me some of those recipes to check out. And 2 is an exercise type book for children. I love that. So number 2, to promote or make exercise and health seem fun to kids to get them moving. That's awesome, Rachel. I hope that you start working on that and let us know how we can support you in that. You might want to, I did it backwards. Yeah. You might want to talk to this one over here. Kate, thanks. Jamie. Well, Jamie, how are you? I must have missed that memo, LOL. I didn't know we were supposed to have ours professionally edited. Yes, so Jamie and I went to Chapman University together. Yes, we were told, Jamie, to you probably want your theses professionally edited. But that's okay. I'm sure you got an A on yours too. It was just, that was hell, pure hell. Yeah. Thanks, Jamie. I haven't seen you in a while. Let's set up a call to chat. So Kate, Rachel already DM'd you. Okay. So there you go. That's awesome. So you guys, we've got 2 more parts of the show. The first one is called This or That. And that's when I ask my guests, I give them 2 words. You cannot add a word. You cannot delete a word. You must make a choice. So pick the better of the 2. So are you ready for this rapid fire?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Flip-flops or boots?
Flip-flops.
Yay. Pizza or tacos?
Pizza.
Country or rock and roll?
Rock and roll.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Baseball or football?
Baseball.
Movies or a nap?
A nap.
Mini golf or real golf?
Mini golf.
Laptop or desktop?
Laptop.
Podcast or video?
Podcast.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Wine or whiskey?
Wine.
See, it was painless. It's just kind of fun to do. Well, Kate, thank you so much for joining me today. I think that this was a very fun and informational show where, everyone's got a book in them. So get started, do that mind dump, do tip number 1, write down that topic. And I put some of the pro tips in the comments here. I put the StreamYard link over there, you guys. And then of course, we have some new services this year over at Mary Fane Brandt Coaching and Consulting. So we're offering VIP intensives. What does that mean? That means in 4 hours, you get it done and dusted. We will optimize, rewrite your profile with you, come up with a 30-day content strategy and a list of your strategic partners, referral partners, and potential clients, and show you how to search them on LinkedIn. Now, with this half-day intensive, you also get a follow-up call because we both know you're going to go through, we're going to get it all done, and then a question's going to pop up. And I don't want you to feel stuck. So you get 2 weeks of email support, you get a bonus call at the end, and you get graphics done for you. What? That's crazy, right? It's time. It's time now to get on LinkedIn, level up your LinkedIn game, and stand out like the rock star that you are in your industry. But it's more than just having a rock star profile, you guys. You actually have to know who you're searching for, how to connect with them. You'll learn that with my 3C method: connect, cultivate, and convert. And you'll have a content strategy that drives business over to your website. So I'm going to drop that link over in the comments. I'll drop 2 links. One, if you're like, this is a hell yes, Mary, let's get on my calendar. I've got 4 spots open for June. I'm going to drop that, book it now. Or if you need some more information and we want to make sure this is a good fit, I'm going to drop my consultation link in the comments as well. And we can have a 30-minute chat to make sure that this is right for you. So with that, we're going to say goodbye. We did it. We did it in 32 minutes. 30 minutes, 3 tips. High five. I love it. Okay, guys, we will see you tonight at 5 o'clock. I forgot. My new show is launching tonight, live at 5 on the same channels. This is 15 Minutes of Fame, where I'm dropping some LinkedIn tips and selling tips for the busy professionals out there, sales executives and CEOs. So I think I posted about that. I'd love for you to join me and give me some love for this new show that I'm launching, because, you know, it's not enough to do one live show in a day. Let's make it 2 on Wednesdays. Right? Okay, you guys, take care, and I'll see you tonight at 5.